God being love is also happiness. God being love is also happiness. Lesson 103 from the original edition in Course in Miracles Workbook for Students, March the 13th of 2022. God being love is also happiness. Man, I just love this lesson. Look what he says here to this. Happiness is an attribute of love. Man, I hope that wind doesn't blow that tripod over again. Let me try to keep that from happening today by putting that pack behind it. Maybe that'll help protect it. God being love is also happiness. Happiness is an attribute of love. Happiness is an attribute of love. It cannot be apart from it, nor can it be experienced where love is not. See how important it is that we love our neighbor as ourselves so we can be happy all the time. Love has no limits, being everywhere, and therefore joy is everywhere as well. So if you want to make the distinction between happiness and joy, he's saying love has no limits, being everywhere, and therefore joy is everywhere as well. Yet can the mind deny that this is so, believing there are gaps in love where sin can enter, bringing pain instead of joy? And I've heard people say that there's a difference between joy and happiness, but I don't ever see any definition differences that Jesus makes in A Course in Miracles. I've heard people say happiness is a result of happenings, and joy is an indwelling part of your spirit. I think Jesus uses them both interchangeably, as best I can see. Anyway, therefore, let's read that again. God being love is also happiness. Happiness is an attribute of love. I just really want to let us walk away with this idea that when we're loving, we're happy. And if we're happy, it's because we're loving. When happiness is gone, which you can look in the mirror to see that, or you can feel it, it's even better than looking in the mirror. What you can be sure about is that you thought a thought that love wouldn't have thought. That's the point I'm trying to make here. Happiness is an attribute of love. It cannot be apart from it, nor can it be experienced where love is not. Love has no limits, being everywhere, and therefore joy is everywhere as well. Yet can the mind deny that this is so, believing that there are gaps in love where sin can enter, bringing pain instead of joy? This strange belief would limit happiness by redefining love as limited and introducing opposition in what has no limit and no opposite. Fear is associated then with love, and its results become the heritage of minds that think what they have made is real. These images, with no reality and truth, bear witness to the fear of God. Forgetting being love, he must be joy. Okay, let's read that again. This strange belief would limit happiness by redefining love as limited and introducing opposition in what has no limit and no opposite. Fear is associated then with love. You know, when the upside down perception, everything's backwards when we're looking at it through the ego's eyes. And it says fear is associated then with love, and its results become the heritage of minds that think what they have made is real. These images, with no reality and truth, bear witness to the fear of God. Bear witness to the fear of God. Forgetting being love, he must be joy. All right, so he talks about how that, well, let's just keep reading, and then I want to tell you something about this. The basic error we will try again to bring to truth today and teach ourselves, God being love is also happiness. To fear him is to be afraid of joy. Okay, now, Jesus knows a lot more about my mind than I did, and I'm learning a lot. That's why I've been reading this book for so many years, because he's helping me to understand the workings of my mind and mind in general. And one of the things that he says is that to fear God is to be afraid of joy. And But don't get caught up on this trap. I got kind of caught up in here for several years, not really severely, I don't think, but maybe, where I kept thinking, well, I'm not afraid of God. But what Jesus is really trying to get us to see is at a deeper level, whenever you're siding with the ego, you are afraid of God, and you're actually waging war against your oneness, your Godness. Okay, and he's talked a lot about that in our text reading with the special relationship. So I guess what I'm trying to encourage you to do is take it on faith that when he says God being love is also happiness, boy, what a wonderful, wonderful thought that he's given us, and an idea to hold strong to, that love has to be happiness or it wouldn't be love. So God being love is also happiness. To fear God is to be afraid of joy. So if you could just kind of like take it on faith, even if you don't quite understand it yet, because I assure you it'll become more clear as you go along. But at this point, you may just have to say, well, if I'm not happy, basically what I'm saying is to fear him is to be afraid of joy. And we don't want that. And we'll try to understand that better as we go along. Begin your periods of practicing today with this association, which corrects the false belief that God is fear. Okay? We don't have to be afraid of God. And I know that in the Bible there are translations that they seem to use the word in a positive way, to be afraid of God. But let me assure you, those are clearly either misunderstandings of the writers or misunderstandings of the interpreters, because there's nothing about God to be afraid of. Begin your periods of practicing today with this association, which corrects the false belief that God is fear. It also emphasizes happiness belongs to you because of what He is. Allow this one correction to be placed within your mind each waking hour today. Then welcome all the happiness it brings as truth replaces fear, and joy becomes what you expect to take the place of pain. God being love, it will be given you. Bolster this expectation. God being love, it will be given you. Happiness will be given you. God being love. Only you can hold it back. Remember, you're just a choice away from joy. If you're not happy, you're a choice away. You don't have to move. You don't have to change anything but your thoughts. You need a miracle in that moment, but that's the one miracle that is so easy to attain. It's the one promise, the one prayer you'll always get. When you're willing, you'll be given the answer of how to think so that you can reperceive anything that's causing you pain to give you joy. And He's given us a huge lift on this one. God being love is also happiness. We all know that God is with us always. Happiness is with us always, okay? Allow this one correction to be placed within your mind each waking hour today. Then welcome all the happiness it brings as truth replaces fear, and joy becomes what you expect to take the place of pain. God being love, it will be given you. Bolster this expectation. Bolster this expectation frequently throughout the day, and quiet all your fears with this assurance. Kind and wholly true, God being love is also happiness. And it is happiness I seek today. I cannot fail because I seek the truth. God being love is also happiness. And it is happiness I seek today. I cannot fail because I seek the truth. Have you noticed the last few lessons have all been really trying to get us to hold on to this idea that God being love is also happiness. He wants us to be filled with happiness all the time. Let it be the what do you call it, the thermostat to let you know what your temperature is. Looking at your gauge on your dashboard, is the happiness little dial where it needs to be in the happiness zone? If it's down on the too cold or too hot, well, I don't know that you can be too much joy, but I'm trying to use an example that may not play out all the way. But the idea is that keep check as you would your own car as you're driving to see how the oil pressure and the temperature is. check your happiness. Haven't you been doing that the last few days with the lessons? And hadn't it kind of helped you to be happy more? Just knowing that it's just a choice away? Okay, God being love is also happiness. In your 5-minute practice period each hour, say, to fear Him is to be afraid of joy. And also throughout the day, often say, God being love is also happiness. And it is happiness I seek today. I cannot fail because I seek the truth. All right. Let us go take a look now in our text reading, and we're ready for the Bridge to the Real World, section 7 in chapter 16, the forgiveness of illusions. And we'll pick that up here in just a minute. While you're turning there, let me tell you, I'm sitting out here in my an area I'm going to be working my garden over into. It's kind of in front of my fruit orchard, and right behind me is I can't really, I hope you can see them. Let's see if I can point to them so you know. This is an elderberry. Oh, let's see, elderberry right there. There is my elderberry. You see how there's several shoots that came up there? So it usually makes pretty nice elderberries every year. I planted them a few years ago and out here in my orchard. Fruit trees are all leafing out behind me, you can kind of see. Okay, and I wanted to take a look at another loose leaf lettuce, and this variety is called Gold Rush. Gold Rush. And this is from the Seed Savers Exchange, and it says, the citrus green leaves of this lettuce are strikingly frilled, curly, and crinkled. This variety adds a unique texture to salad, holds without bolting for an extended period, that's a good thing for this country, and has a mild, fresh flavor that complements any salad. Loose leaf, 50 to 60 days. And you know, I would have had all kinds of lettuce planted already this year, and I would have started planting it a couple weeks ago. But as you all know, I still haven't caught my critter that's eating it every time I get it put in the ground, so there's no sense in planting it. I'm going to be putting out some onions here in the next, I was hoping to do it today, but we got big rain last night, so it's a little wet. Hopefully tomorrow I'll be able to plant onions. All right, the bridge to the real world. The search for the special relationship is the sign that you equate yourself with the ego and not with God. What's our time frame? Okay, it's hard for me to see in the sunlight. For the special relationship has value only to the ego. I say it's hard for me to see in the sunlight. Actually, I can see really well in the sunlight. I don't even need my glasses when it's out in nice bright sunlight. But it's hard for me to read my screen is what I really meant to say. So it's hard for me to tell how long I spent. I think I've spent about 12 minutes so far. So let's see if we can get about half of this section read. The search for the special relationship is the sign that you equate yourself with the ego and not with God. The special relationship has value only to the ego. To the ego, unless a relationship has special value, it has no meaning, and it perceives all love as special. Yet this cannot be natural, for it is unlike the relationship of God and His Son. And all relationships that are unlike this one must be unnatural. For God created love as He would have it be and gave it as it is. Love has no meaning except as its Creator defined it by His will. It is impossible to define it otherwise and understand it. In other words, love is always maximal. We don't have to give more love to some relationships other than other. We want to give our love to be maximal to everyone. The relationships will be different because our agreements with each other are different. So, you know, we maintain the agreements that we have with each other, which will vary. But the maximum and the intensity of our love, we want it to be maximum. We want it to be the same love that the Father has for the Son and that the Son has for the Father. That means all of God's children are His Son. Love is freedom in paragraph 60. Love is freedom. To look for it by placing yourself in bondage is to separate yourself from it. For the love of God no longer seek for union and separation, nor for freedom and bondage. As you release, so will you be released. Forget this not, or love will be unable to find you and comfort you. There is a way in which the Holy Spirit asks your help if you would have His. The holy instant is His most helpful tool in protecting you from the attraction of guilt, the real lure in the special relationship, the attraction of guilt. And that's the real lure. What seems to be appealing is the attraction of guilt in the special relationship. You do not recognize this is its real appeal, for the ego has taught you that freedom lies in it. Yet the closer you look at the special relationship, the more apparent it becomes that it must foster guilt and therefore must imprison. 61. The special relationship is totally without meaning without a body. And if you value it, you must also value the body. And what you value, you will keep. The special relationship is a device for limiting yourself to a body and for limiting your perception of others to theirs. The great rays, and those are capitalized, the great and the rays being from God, the great rays would establish the total lack of value of the special relationship if they were seen. For in seeing them, the body would disappear because its value would be lost. And so your whole investment in seeing it would be withdrawn from it. You see the world you value. Okay, we see the world we value. On this side of the bridge, you see the world of separate bodies seeking to join each other in separate unions and to become one by losing. When two individuals seek to become one, they are trying to decrease their magnitude. Each would deny his power, for the separate union excludes the universe. Far more is left outside than would be taken in. For God is left without and nothing taken in. If one such union were made in perfect faith, the universe would enter into it. Yet the special relationship which the ego seeks does not include even one whole individual. For the ego wants but part of him and sees only this part and nothing else. In other words, in the special relationship, what we're doing is we're coming from a sense of lack in ourselves, and we're trying to fulfill that lack in another person. So we're getting into the relationship to take from them what we think's appealing and looks good. And that's what we don't want to do. We want to find the God inside and see Him in everyone. Maybe, is that a good way to think of it? 63. Across the bridge, it is so different. Across the bridge. Okay, let's hear about this bridge. Across the bridge, it is so different. For a time, the body is still seen, but not exclusively as it is seen here. For the little spark which holds the great rays within it is also visible, and this spark cannot be limited long to littleness. Once you have crossed the bridge, the value of the body is so diminished in your sight that you will see no need at all to magnify it, for you will realize that the only value which the body has is to enable you to bring your brothers to the bridge with you and to be released together there. 64. The bridge itself is nothing more than a transition in your perspective of reality. Okay, what is that? The bridge itself is nothing more than a transition in your perspective of reality. On this side, everything you see is grossly distorted and completely out of perspective. What is little and insignificant is magnified, and what is strong and powerful cut down to littleness. In the transition, there is a period of confusion in which a sense of actual disorientation seems to occur. But fear it not, for it means nothing more than that you have been willing to let go your hold on the distorted frame of reference which seemed to hold your world together. Oh, that is such a good sentence. We're going to read it again, I think. This frame of reference is built around the special relationship. Without this illusion, there can be no meaning you would still seek here. I'm going to read that whole paragraph once again. The bridge itself is nothing more than a transition in your perspective of reality. On this side, everything you see is grossly distorted and completely out of perspective. What is little and insignificant is magnified, and what is strong and powerful cut down to littleness. In the transition, there is a period of confusion in which a sense of actual disorientation seems to occur. But fear it not, for it means nothing more than that you have been willing to let go your hold on the distorted frame of reference which seemed to hold your world together. You've opened your mind and you're saying, maybe there is another way to see this. Maybe evil isn't the nature of humans and myself. Maybe there's a good part of us. Maybe there's something totally different that's beautiful and it's right here, right now. Anyway, we get a little distorted because we're not real sure because we've been living by the old programming for so long. And he says, but fear it not, for it means nothing more. Here, let me back up one more sentence. In the transition, there is a period of confusion in which a sense of actual disorientation seems to occur. But fear it not, for it means nothing more than that you have been willing to let go your hold on the distorted frame of reference which seemed to hold your world together. This frame of reference is built around the special relationship. Without this illusion, there can be no meaning you would still seek here. Wow. So he's basically, and I think we're going to stop our reading there today. And just keep in mind that our lesson today is a real strong underpinning to the new world. I mean, it's like it's an anchor. God being love is also happiness. Oh my gosh. Oh my God. Maybe I should say, God, thank you for showing me. God being love is also happiness. I didn't understand that about God. And my false underpinnings before was that God was a God of punishment and justice, which I do believe he is. I don't think he's a God of punishment anymore. But, during that transition period, there was a sense of disorientation. But he says, fear it not. Fear it not. What's he say then? To fear it not, for it means nothing more than that you have been willing to let go your hold on the distorted frame of reference which seemed to hold your world together. Isn't that something? This world was built around the special relationship. He says this frame of reference is built around the special relationship. Without this illusion, there can be no meaning you would still seek here. Okay, so what we're going to learn to do is to apply more and more this idea. Our lessons every day will help us to do this, to get our minds wrapped around the reality of life, that love is all there is. It has no opposite. Okay? So until you're able to do that, or until that becomes crystal clear, just do your lessons. They'll point to it. God being love is also happiness. To fear him is to be afraid of joy. So let's not be afraid of joy. Let's not be afraid of God. Let's not be afraid of these lessons. God being love, and if you are, be easy on yourself. Truth will always be here when you're ready for it. It won't ever be forced upon you. All right? God being love is also happiness. To fear him is to be afraid of joy. And then throughout the day, bolster this expectation frequently throughout the day, and quiet all your fears with this assurance, kind and wholly true. God being love is also happiness, and it is happiness I seek today. I cannot fail because I seek the truth. And did I just lose my...